So guys, right now the crypto markets are pumping. We had some key news events that were happening this week, and today we saw the CPI inflation data that is really going to determine rate cuts moving into later in September. Right now, there is still a lot of bearish perspectives talking about how we could be seeing massive deviations, and a lot of people are setting up for shorts. But right now, there's also zero confirmations of bearish movement, which is why a lot of people are anticipating that everything is about to start rallying super hard. But the biggest question is, are we going to keep on pumping, or is it going to be a fake pump out, a bull trap, and then everything is going to crash? That is what we're going to be talking about in today's episode. But if you guys are new to my channel, go and check out the rest of my content, guys. I've been giving you guys the day-to-day events, price action on Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins, how liquidity is shifting, and everything you need to be aware of. Yesterday was a really crazy day. You can go check out yesterday's video. I didn't really talk too much about crypto because of everything that happened yesterday. Don't want to talk too much about it, over it. Want to pretty much just keep progressing with the crypto markets and getting ready for altcoin season, guys. So let's go and jump straight into the chart, straight into the markets, and exactly what you need to be aware of. So guys, like how I said, crypto markets are pumping on the 24-hour landscape, and honestly on the weekly basis, it's looking quite strong, not only for Bitcoin, but for Ethereum as well. The total 3E chart is starting to run really hard, and we're starting to see Bitcoin dominance see a little bit of a dip. But right now, everything has been all eyes on the news events and the data that was coming out around inflation right before the September Fed meeting determining rate cuts, guys. And we did see that CPI inflation come out. A lot of people are talking about markets are pricing a 75 basis point rate cut by the end of the year. But there's a few other different perspectives. KillXBT has been someone that has been, keeping up with all this bearish news events and everything that's been going on. But one thing that he has said is zoomed in view, Bitcoin is holding above the previous weekly open, which means theoretically there is zero bearish confirmation. So this is something that has a lot of people super pumped. But he does talk about a specific zone that we have to pretty much hold in. Dr. Profit has been someone that has been super bearish, super bearish in the past few weeks, pretty much due to the massive deviations that we've been seeing. CEOs selling super big, and also insiders selling like crazy. Crypto Mitchell now has been someone that has been super bullish, talking about how altcoins, compared against Bitcoin, still has a massive weekly bullish divergence, and a lot of other different perspectives on how we're going to be rallying. Benjamin Cohen has been covering exactly the rate, cut decisions, what's going to be happening based off of the data that's been coming out, and also has been correlating Bitcoin dominance and how it's currently up 0.04% for September. Not that much, but overall, we're anticipating more price action. Markets are green, and altcoins are seeing a little bit of a pump. But right now, guys, the biggest zone that everyone is talking about right now is that 122,000 region, because if we can't break out of that zone, we're going to be seeing a massive correction. And this goes in line with a lot of different perspectives that people are saying. Same thing with Ethereum, and in terms of the price action we're currently seeing and retesting that 4,800 region. Now, of course, we need to break above that 4,600 zone before we can even talk about 4,800, but usually the price action starts moving quite quickly. Altcoins are following the price action around Ethereum, so of course if Ethereum is rallying, altcoins are going to be following that same price action. And while Bitcoin dominance has been seeing a little bit of a dip, it is still up 0.04% for September, so do not get ahead of yourself. The biggest things that have been having an effect on the market, though, is the news events, guys, because this is going to be having an effect not only on inflation and also, the labor markets and everything that's going on, but that affects rate cuts, and rate cuts affects everything else and how people feel about liquidity in the markets and an ease in the economic tensions. But this is super important. The biggest thing everyone's been keeping their eye on is the CPI inflation data that came out today. But tomorrow we're going to be seeing more, talks about the sentiment data as well as inflation expectations data that comes out on Friday, guys. This is super important stuff. Now, the Kobeshi letter did cover exactly the inflation data that came out. He says August CPI inflation rises to 2.9% in line with expectations of 2.9%. Core CPI inflation rises to 3.1% in line expectations of 3.1%. CPI inflation is now at its highest level since January of 2025. We continue to see a 25 BPS rate cut next week. Now, he goes on to say markets are now pricing in a 75 basis point of rate cuts by the end of year. While CPI inflation continues to rise, the labor market is simply too weak to ignore. And this is why, guys, we've been keeping up with all this information that's been coming out. But right now, labor markets are not looking too hot. And this is why a lot of people are anticipating more deviations and not the same price action that we've been seeing in a lot of other cycles. KillXBT has been talking about this, goes on to talk about how Bitcoin is holding above the previous weekly open, which means theoretically there is zero bearish confirmations. As long as Bitcoin remains above 113.4K, it means higher can happen. To roll over to 111K, we need to lose it. So this is pretty much where only time will tell, guys, how we're going to be closing out the week for the U.S. markets. And then on top of that, how everyone feels moving into the rate cuts. I honestly talked about it on my X channel. I said, on my X account, I said, it's going to be a buy the rumor, sell the news kind of event. It is pretty straightforward. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of people are going to be blindsided by this. But yeah, super important stuff, guys. KillXBT is giving his framework and how he's pretty much talking about how the top is currently probably in. Now, Dr. Profit has been giving his perspectives on exactly the deviations, CEOs selling really big, insiders that are selling in his areas that he is shorting. And he has been talking about how right now, guys, is a super important time to start positioning yourself. He says everything between the 115 to 125K is short area. All my shorts I hold entered in this area, planning to add more if market allows to visit. So he's honestly, guys, positioning himself on more shorts. And honestly, guys, he's talking about, the economics of everything that is taking place. And he says how a recession more than likely is going to be happening. Talking about all these economic events, bonds, and exactly how, everything is looking. And this is what I love to see. Not only talking about price action, but the correlation in policy and everything that is taking place. This is super important. But no one is ever going to take the time to read stuff like this. And this is a great post talking about exactly why he thinks everything is going to be deviating really hard. Now, he goes on to say target of 90 to 94K comes faster than you think. Market risk is maxed. First comes the 90 to 94K crash, which was his perspective. What follows is early to tell now. Either more downside or an explosive run to 120 to 140K. What's next again is clear. Recession crash in early 2026. So this is where he honestly thinks that we're going to be seeing massive deviations from Bitcoin, and then potentially we could be seeing a giant rip up, but at the end of the day, we could still be seeing deviations. He's saying how right now, guys, this is the sell zone, and he also asked everyone, are you bullish or bearish for next week? And everyone is bullish. And this is why I think the majority of people, guys, this is a buy the rumor, sell the news kind of event. Everyone is getting so caught up in everything that is taking place. Everyone's getting super bullish because of expectations and what's anticipated and the idea of rate cuts, guys. I am honestly, while I am bullish still because I have an altcoin portfolio, I'm expecting that everything is going to start pumping and then we're going to see a massive correction, but only in due time, guys. That's why I keep you updated with not only multiple perspectives, but also the news events and everything that's having an effect on the markets. Most of the stuff I'm saying, guys, while it does have a grace amount of my opinion in it, a lot of it is just based off of the data and the perspectives and intertwining all of these good thoughts together. Now, Crypto Mitch now has been super bullish, talking about how he's more than happy to be down 50% on his altcoin portfolio as it could potentially provide a 1,000% return. He said he's willing to take the loss to get the upside. He goes on to say that there's going to be a dip on ETH of 20 to 30% in the uptrend. I'm more than happy to be buying it. ETH isn't going to peak at 4.8K. It's literally only starting. Wouldn't be surprised if this is going north of 10K. And he goes on to talk about exactly the altcoin market capitalization valued against Bitcoin and how we still have a massive weekly bullish divergence. And the uptrend has literally only begun. So this is where it's the clash of the perspectives, guys. We talked about this in multiple other videos, but are you more in the bearish perspective with the macroeconomic events and the selling that has been taking place? Or are you more along the lines of everyone that is super bullish and everything that is popping off and the idea of everyone, getting super rich very quickly? This is the perspectives that you need to start keeping in mind. And I know it's easy to get super euphoric, but you need to understand exactly liquidations that could be taking place. Now, Benjamin Cohen, the biggest thing he's been talking about is how Bitcoin dominance is going to keep rallying into the end of November. He says Bitcoin dominance into the beginning of November. He says Bitcoin dominance is up 0.04% so far in September. The big move up by dominance usually happens in October. So not yet after rate cuts. And then in November, oh, it just hit my camera. And then in November, he says, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. And he pretty much gives us the dominance chart, guys, for Bitcoin for multiple years. And this goes to show exactly what we could be anticipating based off of exactly how not only the US markets are looking, but past correlation with this chart. This is super important because if Bitcoin dominance starts rallying, everything is going to get squeezed because liquidity is shifting back into Bitcoin. But then, more than likely, after we see that final run up for Bitcoin dominance, that's whenever altcoin season is going to start. Now, crypto markets, guys, are pumping. Everything is pumping. Everything is looking green, which is why everyone feels super euphoric, even though Bitcoin was sitting at 124,000 like a month or two ago, and Ethereum was sitting right below 5,000. This is the really important stuff, guys, and we've been talking about Ethereum moving back to the 21-week moving average. We've been talking about Bitcoin dominance returning back and everything getting squeezed. But everyone gets so caught up in a short-term perspective that they lack the understanding of what potentially could be happening in the next few weeks. And on this channel, if you're watching videos, you got in this far, you do not lack that perspective. So congratulations, good sir, virtual handshake. You have the attentiveness to really understand the perspectives and learn more and be willing to be wrong, because at the end of the day, we know that invalidation happens. Now, my crypto portfolio right now, guys, is trading sideways. We're seeing green for the 24-hour, but I honestly do not care what's happening right now, because the big move is going to be happening more than likely at the end of November, moving into December, guys. December 1st is my birthday, so I hope everything is rallying by then, so then I can take me a beautiful vacation. But the biggest thing, guys, is that liquidity is shifting right now. All eyes are on the Fed, rate cuts, how, more money is going to be utilized and how rates are going to be dropped so consumers can start spending more, and everyone can start, actually getting the things that they need. But at the end of the day, guys, I think not only looking at that, but also the labor market, inflation, and the correlation between all this stuff is super, super important. So that is currently what is taking place. I know that this is a lot of information, but on this channel, I try to, give it to you in a quick 10 to 15 minute video, breaking down the news events that are having an effect on the market, and then the perspectives around Bitcoin and Ethereum and altcoins, and how potentially to position yourself. I'm expecting more pumps, honestly, in the next week, moving into next week, whenever we start to see the rate cuts and a lot of different things start to take place. And then from there, I think massive deviations are going to be happening because Bitcoin dominance starts to recover in October, which means that we're going to be seeing a slow delay in the liquidity shifting back into Bitcoin. More than likely, everyone's going to get super euphoric. We're going to see the rate cuts. Everyone's going to get, super happy due to their portfolios pumping, and then everyone is just going to sell. That's pretty much my perspective on what's going to be happening. I am not dollar cost averaging right now. I'm honestly just waiting to see if this massive deviation is going to be happening, because if it does, we're going to be seeing a crazy correction around altcoins, and that is when I want to be allocating like crazy to the markets. Now, it is not a bad decision to be dollar cost averaging. My dog just leaned against my freaking tripod. Move, buddy. And right now, guys, it's honestly not too bad of an idea to dollar cost average, because we still are, on the verge of an altcoin season, and no one truly knows when it's going to begin. So if you're dollar cost averaging, it's not the worst decision in the world, but just understand that deviations can be taking place. So just expect the volatility, guys. On this channel, I've been keeping you updated with all this information, so make sure you go check out the rest of the videos. Go check out my perspective, talks about the dips, the different insights in the markets, and a lot of other different things that are taking place. I plan to go full-time in crypto. I know I'm going to go full-time in crypto because I love this stuff and I educate myself every day, and I'm going to keep going. And I see beautiful comments like this, guys, from my day one supporters. I appreciate you guys so much, so much. And I'm going to just keep dropping this stuff, guys, because I know sooner or later we're going to be so in-depth in this. Crypto is going to be, massively adopted more than likely in the next 5 to 10 years. And it's going to be really crazy. Anyone that's been building in that time is going to have a vast amount of experience and know exactly how to navigate the space. And I plan on, rewarding a lot of the people that I see on my channel, and just giving back. But make sure you guys stay tuned. Make sure you guys pretty much stay up to date with the volatility. Expect crazy volatility tomorrow. Honestly, probably in the upward position, just depending on exactly the data that's going to be happening. But overall, I'm going to drop a market update tomorrow with how everything is looking. I'm going to drop more updates on the weekend to let you know what to expect later on next week. And also talk a little bit more about crypto investing, my altcoins, and exactly what everyone's talking about. But if you guys have any questions, questions or suggestions, drop it down below. Let me know if you guys have any questions on anything, any specific coins that you hold or anything in specific. I love to hear everyone's perspectives, and I love to pretty much just share and be able to educate to the best of my ability. Not financial advice. Do not capitulate your bags, and I hope to see you guys tomorrow. Peace.